All right.
Do you think the math stops for COVID? No, it doesn't.
That's even the question.
It is the point, because we're gonna have to sit there like a bunch of dogs in the puzzle.
All right. Oh, actually, I forgot. So we left off.
You got a vaccine.
Oh, am I at? All right. So we left off yesterday. We did the first Mishnah on Chav Testament Beis. So just the first four words of the Mishnah we're going to discuss today. So the first four words of the Mishnah was Lulav Hagazel Vayavish Puzzle. A stolen lulav used for the mitzvah of lulav, and a dried out one is puzzle. 7:06, 20 minutes. Okay. So now Zok the Gemara. Kapasi Vatani. So the Mishnah says straight up, doesn't describe which day Losh Nabi Yantav Rishon, Losh Nabi Yantav Sheni. It doesn't say which day that is referring to. Now when it says Yantav Rishon is referring to day 1, Yantav Sheni is referring to days 2 through 7. Okay. Now, what's the difference? So we'll get there. So Bish Lama Yavesh, I understand it can't be dried out. An old dried out, that's no good. It has to be pre Sadar, right? It needs to be nice. The leka, and it's not there if it's all dried out. El Guzzle, but if it's stolen, so Bish Lama Yantav Rishon, I understand day 1 of Sukkot, you can't take a stolen lulav. Why is that? The pasuk says, Lachem. The pasuk says, right? V'lakachtem lachem b'yom harishon. Take for yourselves. It has to be yours on day 1. Right? Ela b'yom sheni, but days 2 through 7. Am I low? Why not? So Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Says Rabbi Yochanan, the name of Mishum ben Yochai. Mishum, because Shnemar. Mishum. That was just a guess. By Mishum Dahavile. Mitzvah haba b'avera. It's a mitzvah that is coming through an avera, through a direct avera. Now, not just that there was an avera performed, all right, as we'll soon see, and then a mitzvah ultimately was done with it, but the avera itself was the acquiring of this mitzvah. Shinamar, as the pasuk says, "V'aveisam gazel." Right? So it says over there, you're going to go ahead and bring a stolen sacrifice, a piseach, a lame, a sick. So the pasuk says, right? Pasuk in Malachi. So it says, gazel to piseach. So stolen is similar to a lame. Ma piseach, let's say just like a lame animal, it has a permanent blemish, there's nothing to do about it. Afgazel, less late takanasa. So too, a stolen one has no way to fix it. Loishna lifnei yeush, veloishna liachar yeush. Right? Now, it does not make a difference before yeush or after yeush. What's the yeush? Yeush is when basically the owner gives up his ownership. Right? He says, "I'm never going to give it back again." Right? Basically, making it hefker or acquirable for whoever has it. Now, even though that person might acquire it through yeush, right? Owner gives up hope of ever finding it again. So now it's basically free to take. It's in somebody else's house. It's that person's now. Nevertheless, since it was acquired that way, right? It does become his, but it's no good. So I understand if the owner gave up hope, right? Because it was lost. Someone found it and offered the sacrifice, right? that would be okay, right? Right, so that's not his, right? Ella liachar yeush, right? So knows if it's before yeush, when the guy, sorry, I said it wrong before. If it's before yeush, the owner didn't give up hope, and therefore it's still mine, and someone uses it and offers it as his own sacrifice. So of course it's no good because it's not the guy who offered it; it's the homeowners. Ella liachar yeush, but if the homeowner gives up hope of finding it again and someone gets it, right? Ella liachar yeush, hakani b'yeush. He should acquire Yeush, Elav, rather what we say, Mishum Dahavile, Mitzvah Haba B'Avera. If that came to an Avera, if someone just found it and the owner had Yeush, he can bring it. But if it was stolen, and because it was stolen, the owner gave up hope, I stole it, I should be allowed to bring it. No, the pasuk compares it to a lame animal. Just like a lame animal has a permanent blemish, so too over here, when you steal it, that creates like a permanent blemish in the animal that you can't offer it because it's a mitzvah haba b'avera. Fine, that was the source of a mitzvah haba b'avera. The Amr Rabbi Yechanan Mishun Rabbi Shimon Beichai. My dichsiv, what does the pasuk mean? Ki ani Hashem ohev mishpat. Because I am Hashem, I love mishpat, right? Love judgment. Sone gezel ba'olam, right? And hates, right? Dislikes stolen when it comes to an olam. So mashal, so why is Hashem saying it, right? That he hates theft in an olam. So mashal it's like a king who's going ahead and passing the toll booth. And Amar le'avdav, he says to a servant, go ahead and pay, pay the toll. So then, it's all yours. You're going to put it, in the toll, then you're going to, collect it later on, right? So right? No, everyone's going to see me pay, right? I'm last parking, right? I bought all the meters of the city of Chicago, right? But the president of last parking is going to go ahead and pay his meter. Why? Because he wants everyone else to see I'm paying meters. You also pay the meters. So Baruch Hu says, I hate theft when it comes to Allah, right? Learn from me. Therefore, they will go ahead and run away and not get involved with anything stolen to be offered. And Itamar Nami, similarly, we learned that we just taught Amar Rabbi Yami. And our first Nakuda, Yavesh Pasal B'Pnei Shein Hadar, right? A dried out lulav is no good because it is not beautiful. And Gazel Pasal Mishum Dahavi Le Mitzvah Haba B'Yaver. And something stolen is because it is a mitzvah haba b'yaver. Upligi the Rabbi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Yitzchak argues with this. Tam Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani, Amar Shmuel, Loshanu Ella b'Yom Tov Rishon. That which we say lulav a gazel is no good is only talking about day one. Yom Tov Sheni, but on the second day, since I could use a borrowed lulav, I could use somebody else's lulav, I could borrow it. Yaitse nami begezel, right? Therefore, I could use a stolen one, right? On day one, you have to own it. It has to be of yours, right? You can't share lulav on day one. On day two, you could share, right? I could use Ruvain's lulav. So too, I could steal Ruvain's lulav. It could still be his. I stole it. He has no idea I'm using it, right? But, right, it's stolen. I'm never going to give it back to him. Even if he still owns it, I don't own it, but I don't have to own it. So let it be a mitzvah, according to Rabbi Yitzchak. However, so lulav gazli yavesh pasal. Look at our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says a lulav has stolen or dried out as pasal. Sounds like hashal kosher. A bara lulav, which is not mentioned in our Mishnah, is kosher. So what scenario are we talking about where stolen is no good, but borrowed is good? So Amos, when is this? Elam beyond the Rishon. If we're talking about day one, aksiv lachem, mishlachem. It says over there, lachem, mishlachem, it has to be yours. So a bar lulav is no good. So if we're talking about day one, our Mishnah should have said, Yavesh is pasul, and Shaul and Guzzle is also pasul, right? But it doesn't, right? It only says Guzzle, not Shaul. So El Lahai Lavdi Deyu, right? So it would be pasul. Excuse me, Viktani Guzzle pasul. Rather, now we're talking about it is the second days to 7, and therefore second days to 7. Guzzle is pasul. And yes, Amar Rava, right? Amar Rava, so it says Rava, Liyelam b'Yom Tov Rishon. Really, our Mishnah is talking about day one. He's trying to answer for Rabbi Yitzchak, for Rabbi Yitzchak, yeah, right? Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak, right? Was it him? No, who was the one we asked him? Higher up, one second. Oh, Rabbi Yitzchak, right? He's arguing on Rabbi Yitzchak. Liyelam b'Yom Tov Rishon. Really, our Mishnah is talking about Rishon. So if it's talking about day one, why didn't it just say stolen is no good? It should have also said borrowed is no good, right? So let me boy come right now. It's giving a bit of a chiddush. Let me boy shal delavdidehu. It doesn't even have to mention something borrowed because obviously something borrowed is not yours. It doesn't need to list the Mishnah, and therefore that's not listed. Aval guzzle, but maybe something that was stolen. Ema stam gzeli yesh balamu. Maybe if someone doesn't have his lulav, it was stolen. He gives up hope. He gives up hope, and now belongs to guy number 2. To the thief. Guy number 2, the thief, comes into the first day, Sukkot is going to use that lulav. Maybe that's good. And maybe it's like his because he stole it and now he owns it. Kamash Malan, that it is no good. Fine, period.
On the first day only.
On the first day,
Also,
according to this, Guzzle,
on the first day.
on the first day, right? On the first day, according to this tears, right? And he would say Guzzle works on day 2, right?
By the way, when we say love, we're also talking about Hadassah and Robles and so too.
Yes, right now it's we're going to call the Hoshan, the Hoshanas, the bundle. Yeah, they do have their own Mishnah. Yeah. Omar lahu Rav Huna lahanu avantri. So says Rav Huna to these merchants, these salesmen. They used to go ahead and go to the fields, buy from the farmers, right? Acquire from the farmers, then go out and set up their booths and sell their dalamim. Zavisu asam yakum. When you guys go ahead and buy your asas, right? Your hadassim, your myrtles from the goyim, from the akum, loy tikzazu asun. You guys don't cut it off the trees, right? Don't cut it off the branches to bring it. Ella like zuza inu. Let them cut it and let them give it to you. My time. Or what's the reason? Because we say stam oivdei kachavim gazlani araninu. The stam, a regular oivdei kachavim. If you don't know, it's assumed that the land that they're on is stolen. They don't have proper, what's it called? Trust, right? The ownership. They're not right. So they don't have, right, proper ownership. It was stolen, and therefore the karka ain't an exelis, and the rule is land. Turn the page. The land cannot be stolen. Land cannot be stolen. Therefore, if Bob, right, the Bob is a Jew, Bob owns land, and it was stolen by Christopher, right? So now the land's still owned by Bob, even though Christopher's using the land, right? Everything is always stolen. It doesn't like it comes Yehush, the guy did an avera of theft, but it becomes his. No, land is never stolen, right? It can't be given up. Just say, okay, I'll leave it. Land is not stolen. Hilkach, therefore, so he's telling them, since perhaps they stole this, assume they stole the land, so therefore let them cut it, right? Hilkach, let them cut it. Because the owners have given up now to something which is separated from the land, right? Because once the hadassim come out of the separated land, they have a yesh bailam, be'adayu, while it's in hands, tidu, v'shino reshus be'adayu. And also, there's shinoi reshus. There's a change of ownership. All right. Now, there's 2 things going on here. Rashi sort of spells it out over here. That we can just go through the Rashi real quick. I know I maybe we have time for the Rashi, right? I know that 7:26. Not all right, so just look at the Rashi real quick. The karka and exelis. So he's going to sum up that basically, in order for someone to acquire it, to get around the issue of mitzvah hababi avera, you're going to need 2 things. You're going to need yeush of the original owners, and you're going to need shinui reshus, a change of ownership. In other words, it can't be the guy who was the thief to go ahead and use it. It has to be the next person, right? It's never acquired by the Gazlan, which is the Rashi, to the other Mechesas Balahi, right? The Mikra Nafkalan is always in the possession of the true owner. We learned that about Hagoz Basa, right? In the later paragraph of Hagoz Ben Ezekiel, of Mishnizash Hapri, Havi Gazla. But once the fruit becomes separated, right, from the land, right? And that person separates it, he is the one who is stealing it, right? Now, as the land is not stolen, but once you pluck the fruits, once you cut the hadassim, now that's a stolen object in your hand. Hilkach. Therefore, the Gzuza Hain, Mina Mechuber, let them, the Goyish farmers, cut the harvest it, right? Mina Mechuber from attached to the ground. V'yitin lachem, and let them give it to you. Sheyih ha'gazanim, that they will be the gazanim. V'atem loichin, you are the buyers, right?
Okay, but it's still buying, it's still not.
Right.
No,
but once it's listen, the atem loichim oisan, you'll take them, mayhem from them. Habalim nisyashu and the kfar, and the owners already gave up hope, right? Bob gave up hope years ago.
That's not the problem. The problem is that your mom said you didn't get money.
Right? Bahavi was that. Yeah, here's Rashi. And then it will give from their rishus to your rishus to you guys. The kstover, and he holds yeush greda loikani. Right? Yeush by itself is not acquired. In other words, just because the owner gave up hope and it's in my hand, that's not good enough. Aval yeush, the shinui reshus kani. But the combination of Yeush, of the original, of the true owner giving up hope, and it now changing hands, right? The changing hands can't just be me stealing it from the original owner. That's not change of hands. It has to be me stealing it from the owner. He has Yeush, and then going into another party's hand. Once it comes into another party's hand, that's Shinui Rishus, right?
Lulav, we're talking about land.
The lulav itself, the hadas, in this case, was the
Somebody
hadas.
stole the land.
The land was stolen. The land can't be stolen. Once I harvest, I cut the hadassim are stolen.
Because the land was stolen.
Because the land was stolen, but you can't steal land.
Who cut the hadas? The thief?
The idolatry.
The thief?
Now, yeah. So we're assuming it was bought from Arab. Not Arab. I don't want to say. It's not, I was just thinking of it in Israel. You have the Jews and the Arabs on land, right? So a non-Jew, an akum
Yes.
is on the land.
Yes.
But the Gemara says stam akum steals land. It's assumed to steal stolen land. So we're telling him have the akum cut it, because once they cut it, now they have the stolen object in their hands. So that's step one. There's already Yeush and the stolen object, and now you need a change of hands. Once you have a change, the combination of the two, right? About Yeush v'shinu rishus kani. Vinami or kani mitzvah, vinami kani mitzvah above yavera. Havi imatan mechuber tavi atam doesn't. Or we can say that if you were the ones who cut, you guys, the mitzvah above yavera is on you, and therefore you wouldn't be able to do it. So therefore, it's better have the akum cut it, and then they'll give it to you. Shinu rishus plus the yeush. Now you can go ahead and use it. So the Gemara says, what do you mean?
So what the symbolic issue of cutting it from
Because-
the land? Now you separate it
Because
from the.
that's the theft. Because that's when it's stealing. Because you can't steal the land. Right. Now, so, I understand. He goes to Ivankri, Lahavi Yeush, Bailim, Biadaichu, the Shinur Shus Biadan. I understand. These guys are merchants, right? So even if the merchants cut it off the land, okay, so now there's Yeush from the owners, and the merchants owned it, but there's going to be Shinur Shus when they sell it to the end buyer, right? When you go to the Arba Minim Shuk, and you buy it from the guy, so that's the Shinur Shus there. Usually the two should work out. He said, no, like Tzvicha B'Shan Devankri Gufaya. No, because we're talking about some of the merchants, they obviously have to keep a set for themselves. We're saying basically for their own set, they wouldn't be able to use it because they were the ones who cut it. There is no Shinu or Shus, it remained in their hands. So the Gemara says, Shinu Maisa. What about a Shinu Maisa, right? You do a Maisa to it. You take the Hadassim. Well, so that was what I originally thought. But the Maisa over here is, the Maisa is that I take Hadassim and all of a sudden I combine it with the Lulav and Aravos and I put them together. Now I make Hoshanas. I make a Hoshana set. We call it Hoshanas, right? We're going to make it a Lulav set. We call Lulav because it's the biggest, but we make it now Hoshana set for a mitzvah. So that's a Maisa. So my answer is because several Lulav ain't Eged. No, we don't need to do Eged here. You don't need to combine it. And even if you say that Lulav, you do need to go ahead and put them together. This is something that can go back to its original form, right? You tie them together. Well, I cannot tie them. Now it's just like it goes back to square one, right? And when you go ahead and you change something and you could change it exactly back to the way it was, that's not called change. So therefore, there is no shinui, there is no big change. And since there's no big change, it remains, right? That it remains the original owners because all he had was Yeush. There was no shinui. There was no shinui to it. There was no change. Shinui bailam, or it was no, and there was no what's it called? There was no shinui rishus. There was no shinui maisa, and therefore it's still considered to be stolen and not good enough. So Gemara says, "I've liknu b'shinui Hashem." Maybe you can have the Yeush plus the Shinui Hashem. It's called something else. Why? In the beginning, it's called an asa. It's just called a myrtle, right? V'hashta now Hoshana, and now it's called this mitzvah Hoshana, right? So Gemara says, "Mikar nami the asa Hoshana karli." No, even in the beginning they call it Hoshanas. So therefore, there is no Shinui, there is no change of name, and therefore, since there is no change of name, if you guys cut it on your own, right? Then all there was Yeush Bailim. There was never a change. There was never a Shinui Maisa. There was never a Shinui Rishus. There was never a Shinui Hashem. And therefore, you would not be Yotze the mitzvah if you guys wanted to use it yourselves. All right, we'll stop here.
Okay.
Shkoyach, everybody.
Somebody-
7:25. Sure.
Speaking.
Yeah, I'll take it. Sure.